Hey everyone, welcome to the ATYL live stream on a Tuesday night, our last Tuesday show of 2025 before we move to Wednesdays. But because this is our last Tuesday show, that means it's going to be a really, really good show with really, really good guests, lots of talking points, and of course, our 2025 NASCAR predictions. So we have a lot to get through. We are elongating the show. So it'll be like a special, kind of like you have with TV specials, and they're a little bit of longer episodes. This is going to be that because we have just so much cool stuff to talk about. Literally, as of 5 minutes ago, actually more like 10 minutes ago, I came back from Rockingham. So we're going to have so much to talk about with Rockingham as well. Just a lot of fun stuff coming up. But in case you don't know me, you're new to the show, my name's Taylor Kitchen. I'm the host of Above the Yellow Line and the founder of ATYL Media, where we do motorsports media your way. And with me, you guys know me for my NASCAR commentary, but we also have Formula One content, IndyCar content, sim racing content, and so much more on the ATYL Media platforms. But very excited to be very excited to have you all join tonight and to be having the show on a Tuesday. But yeah, we had Tuesdays for like a few weeks, and then we were like, oh, we got to move it to Wednesdays. Wednesdays where it's at. So yeah, if you guys missed it, Slide Job Sal Nicosia had his debut of his show this morning, Splash and Dash, and he did a phenomenal job with it. A lot of you guys were able to tune in and support him with that. So for all of you guys that are early birds, have to wake up early for work or just like to wake up early, enjoy that cup of coffee, definitely consider hanging out with Sal on the ATYL Media channel Tuesday mornings for the Splash and Dash show, and it will stay on Tuesday morning. So very excited about that, but a really good first show talking about a whole lot of stuff coming up in NASCAR. Good to see you. Ravaging Wolverine. We love to see you in the chat. Thanks for tuning in. Adam, we have John. Yes, Wednesday, easily a top 7 day. Love that. Tesla, good to see you in here. Yeah, we decided to move to Wednesdays because it's middle of the week. That's the perfect balance of like pre-race content, and just news content, and it just made so much sense for us. No, so yeah, let's talk about this real quick before we get into the conversations today with our lovely guests. So there is a rumor circulating on social media that Carl Edwards is going to run Rockingham. Carl is back, or even Matt Kenseth. There was a rumor about that too. These are rumors, folks. There's nothing confirmed about any of this yet, as far as I know. But fan rumors are so much fun. And I think when we heard that Casey Kane was coming back for Rockingham, which I got to talk to him today, which was super cool, we were all like, ooh, what else can we come up with? What else can we think about going into the future? Who do we want to see back in a cup car? And those theories turned into just predictions, hopes once, but nothing confirmed yet. But good to see you all tuning in. Oh, good to see you. Good to see you guys. Awesome. Yeah, the test today at Rockingham was awesome. We'll get to talk about that a little bit later. But right now, I want to bring in a very special guest to kick off the ATYL live show. He was on the show like a year or two ago, so it's been a bit. And I'm like, we have to bring him back, especially considering he has some exciting news coming up, exciting partnerships coming up. I'm running a full-time ARCA series schedule this year, so there is so much on his plate. Very excited to catch up with none other than Brayton Laster. Hello.
Hello, how is it going?
Good. So good to see you.
It is awesome to come back. Like you mentioned, it's been probably a year and a half, maybe even two, I think, since I've been on. So it's pretty cool to kind of see everything how it's changed. And I always like going back on shows I've done previously and saying, hey, here's where we were at a couple years ago, and now we're up here.
Yeah, it's crazy one to see just our growth too, but talk about like your growth as a driver on social media, the partnerships that you've been able to get, the full-time season. How did that all come together and how excited are you to be contending this year?
Yeah, so that's really a cool aspect of being able to race full time now in the 2025 Arca Menard series. And I've been part time the last couple of years, on and off. Only a handful of races in 2022, and then 7 races in 2023. And I think we attempted 7. We didn't at Daytona, so we only ran 6 last year in 2024. So that was a real tough season and getting your first big DNQ in the big leagues, but working the whole marketing aspect of it. That's been the biggest growth for me as a driver, compared to running, late models with my family operation and whatnot. We're still a pretty small late model operation compared to most most teams. Then we kind of get to this ARCA level, and like, hey, this costs a lot of money to get to this level and to compete at this level. So the past 3 years has been kind of a 14-week trial or 14-day trial. Just took 3 years to get the full trial there, and we felt like we were really able to kind of grow my presence, grow my brand, the whole pizza guy thing, and social media, especially Twitter and TikTok, has just really blown up. Last 3-ish weeks on Twitter alone, I've had over 2 million impressions, which is great for not
Wow.
just an ARCA driver, but for like a NASCAR driver. That's huge. And so we're looking at a career year there on Twitter, and millions of views on TikTok, and probably 40,000 to 50,000 combined followers. So it's really cool to kind of grow my brand and a lot more than I would have been able to as a small guy. And that's only running part time the last couple of years. Now we're
Yeah.
full time. That's really cool for us. And talking about how that came about, I've ran for a lot of lower dollar like family operations in ARCA, which a lot of people don't quite realize how budget these operations are. Some of these operations are literally working out of a two-car garage in the middle of nowhere. And one of these operations, Wayne Peterson Motorsports. I got the
Woohoo.
opportunity to run with Wayne last year at Indianapolis Raceway Park, my home track, and Wayne's been in NASCAR longer than Hendrick almost. Actually, I think he hasn't beat by a year. Wayne attempted the Daytona 500 back in 1984, and he worked as like a crew guy for years before that. And he didn't make the Daytona 500. And I said, you know what? I'm gonna go ARCA racing. And he just never really left ARCA after that. So he's been kind of in ARCA as a driver and a team owner for the last 4+ decades. And I've seen him around the garage a couple times the last couple of years. I've never really talked to Wayne though. And I was sitting there looking for a ride for Indianapolis Raceway Park, and a lot of people kind of look down on Wayne, kind of some older style equipment. It's not competitive, and you hear everything in the garage. And
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm just looking for a ride. So I gave him a call. I'm like, hey Wayne, I'm Brayton Laster. You've probably seen me around the garage. He's like, well, you got your ARCA license? I'm like, yeah, Wayne, I'm approved for all that. Like don't worry about that. I'm like,
You're like,
I'm
I'm
just trying.
good.
Yeah, like I'm just trying to find a ride. And he's like, well, let me talk to Nate, and Nate Muller, the crew chief, who actually lives down there with Wayne. A pretty cool story there. Well, Nate knows me a lot more than Wayne does. I've talked to Nate quite a bit, and Nate's like, "Oh yeah, Brayton, great guy, great kid, great kid." Does a lot for like the smaller operations, and so that's where my career's been the last couple of years. Whenever a smaller team would need a driver, they'd give me a call up on that Monday or Tuesday before the race and say, "Hey, we need a driver out here in Phoenix or Watkins Glen. Can you make it out here?" And so I literally drove to Phoenix in 30-ish hours. Me and my girlfriend
Oh
loaded
my
up
gosh.
Shelby, and we drove to Phoenix. And that was a not so fun drive when it says one day, and that and is the part that gets you. And so
Yeah.
and we got a lot of seat time though that way. And as Steven pointed out in the YouTube chat, that Wayne did a lot over 20 years in the military. He was a
Wow.
translator in Vietnam for Nixon. He guarded Kennedy's body in the rotunda. He was a part of the Bay of Pigs invasion. He did over 1,200 jumps for NASA out of airplanes.
Oh
It
my
that
gosh.
he if you guys go look at his full Wikipedia page, I mean, it is surprising there's not a documentary on him. And he's still somewhat racing. He was racing a couple years ago at 80 years old in ARCA. So yeah, he's a pretty cool guy, but
Legendary.
exactly, and there's not many guys that are as legendary as him in the garage, and so it's pretty cool to team up with him for IRP. And I went down to couple. This is like 2 or 3 weeks before the race. I went down to a shop a couple days after that phone call and kind of did a handshake deal, and he's like, "Oh, let's do it." No idea really what to expect, and I think there were 26, 27 cars at their IRP, and we didn't quite have the speed we wanted, but IRP is a very difficult track, and I struggled
Mhm.
a lot kind of learning the track. And we ended up getting 17th, 18th, 19th, somewhere around there. It brought the car home in one piece. It did, all Wayne really wanted me to do. And that Monday after, the next week after, Arkansas going to Salem, Indiana. It's a high banked half mile. It's Bristol on steroids, basically.
Love it.
Because it's 30, 31 degrees of banking, but it's progressive banking, so you got to run right up by the wall the entire time. And it's a pretty unique track. It's a pretty old surface too, so it's pretty bumpy. You got to really trust the car and you got to drive in there. That Monday, I'm sitting there driving on dinner, and Wayne calls me up and says, "Hey, Brayton, I don't have a driver for Salem. If you want to come down, the seat's yours to drive the car." I was like, I've never quite had a phone call like that.
Yeah.
And so we went down there and finished ninth out of 19, 20 something cars, and ran top 12, top 13 for a lot of that race, qualified great. And this is all in old. The car I was driving, I think, was like a 2001 chassis. It's older than I am.
Oh my
So just kind of,
gosh.
and Corey Day was there racing in like a 2022 Hendrick chassis. So that's like the difference in big and versus small team at that ARCA level. And so got out there and get that ninth place finish. Actually, Wayne's best finish as a team owner since 1984. So he was
Wow.
very, very happy with that. Kind of after that, we started talking a little bit. I'm like, he's like, I'd love to have you for a full season. And I was like, Wayne, like, I don't know if I can commit to that. That's a big commitment. We kind of got talking. And I got talking to my partners a little bit, and we're like, you know what? Technically, it's my last year of rookie eligibility. Go big or go home. I've got 16 starts under my belt now. Ran out every single type of track that ARCA goes to between the road courses, the intermediate, the dirt tracks, short tracks, and super speedways. I think I'm not the most prepared, but probably the as close as you can get without spending millions and millions of dollars. So you know what, Wayne, let's go for it.
Yeah, I mean, your experience over the past few years, even preparing you to get to this moment, I mean, I might be speaking for you, but I think you're more than prepared to take on this challenge. And I think what's cool about it is you're growing with Wayne Peterson
Hmm.
Motorsports. Like you both are at this level of motorsports, and you're like, I've been building my marketing over the past few years, and he's a smaller team. And how cool is it that you guys can grow together and really build something special here?
Yeah, talking to Wayne throughout the off season when we first committed to this deal in October, which first off, that's a huge relief. Normally, like I said, I'd be getting a call Monday or Tuesday before the race, so I had no idea when I would actually be racing. So like I'd have someone call me, "Hey, you're racing at Phoenix?" I'm like, "I have no idea." "You're racing Bristol?" "I have no idea." So very rarely did I actually have a deal kind of set in stone for a particular race more than a couple weeks in advance. And even Daytona last year, we got that deal signed on New Year's Day.
Oh
So
my
it was
gosh.
5 6 weeks before Daytona. So getting the deal signed in October is such a great sigh of relief. Knowing, hey, when people ask me, "Are you racing here?" Yes, I am. As a matter of fact, ARCA goes there. Now, when people ask me, if I'm going to Pocono, oh, sorry, ARCA doesn't go to Pocono anymore. You know,
So
but
sad.
eh, yeah, kind of sitting there too to tie into your question. Wayne knows that he's going to have a driver though for the entire season that will get a lot of his equipment, so he knows it's not going to go wasted anything he puts into the cars, and he has definitely upgraded his equipment this offseason a lot more than I've seen in previous years. So, I mean, he's got a completely new short track car that he's building, completely new suspension from some of the top engineers in not just ARCA but in NASCAR. He has helping him set the car up for that. So we're really looking forward to the short tracks this season. Obviously the big tracks are going to struggle a little bit. We're not going to have the big motor that a lot of the ARCA teams will have, just because it costs $65,000 to $75,000
Holy
to get
moly.
one of the big motors. Yeah,
Yeah.
and it gets expensive quick running the big motor. So obviously we're going to kind of scale it back there. So we'll struggle a little bit on the big track, but the short track I think we can really go out and we can really succeed.
I think one quote I saw from, I believe it was a Toby Christie article. Shout out to Toby Christie. You said was quote, "We're not planning on setting the world on fire or breaking records. Just going out there, finishing every single lap, and scoring as high as we can in points is the goal." And then you also said, and of course, extra is just toppings on the pizza, which also love that so much. But I think going into this season, how important is it for you to kind of manage those expectations and to keep yourself grounded? Like you said, I mean, it's a big undertaking to run a full-time season and you're like, I don't know if I can commit to that, but you are. So what's it like managing those expectations?
And I wouldn't run a full time season if I didn't think I was ready. And
Mhm.
when you go out here and these race cars, they are very expensive, and you tear them up. Those dollar signs they add up very quick, and you're not talking zeros, you're talking commas. How many
Yeah.
commas is there going to be in that repair bill? And so when I was sitting there kind of thinking about that going into the full season, I was like, you know, I've probably only been in 3 or 4 wrecks in my entire career, and only one wreck in ARCA and 16 starts, and it wasn't even my fault. It was at Talladega. It's part of the big one. And I've spun out a couple times, but I've never damaged the car. So I'm like, I have a pretty good track record going. I haven't torn up that much equipment. And to a team owner like Wayne, who has, I don't want to say limited equipment, he's got a handful of cars, a lot more than most smaller teams, about 5 or 6 chassis and 3 or 4 race ready ish cars that can be race ready on a moment's notice.
Yeah.
So it would take a lot to really put us down for the count. I had an opportunity last year to run a lot of races with another small team, Rise Motorsports, and they are a very, very small operation. I got 3 top 10s for them in 2023 running the dirt races in Salem, and then running the dirt races with them again. I got 13th and 14th place. But Tim and Rita Goulet, they did a lot to help me out, but they only had one car, 2 motors, one chassis, and some spare body parts. So I was very scared to run their equipment because they were running the full season, the full Arca Menard series, the full Arca East, and then some standalone Arca West races as well. So they're running 27, 28 races with one car. Like if I go out there and go nose first under a tire barrier and destroy the front clip, that is going to make their entire season in vain. And I did not want to be the guy that destroyed their car and sent their season off the rails.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much pressure in that, but I mean, you're going in with the right mindset. You're going in with the understanding of like, you know what? My goal is to just bring home the car one piece and also just like give the best performance you can on the track. So I like this pairing a lot with you and Wayne, and I think you guys are going to have an excellent 2025. I want to go back to the social media aspect of things because you've been posting a lot about the Hendrick Motorsports auctions on your social media. What piqued your interest about that? And following up on that too is like you're still posting about it. Like what is it that intrigues you about the auction here? I'm
I think
interested.
I think it's a really really cool platform. So I use Twitter a lot to just kind of share cool stuff. I'm not
Yeah.
like most drivers that just kind of post some sponsorship content and call it a day. I post a lot of cool stuff and
Yes.
seeing like the prices that some of that stuff is going for. I'm like, man, I can get like a front Camaro note for like $5. I mean, I just put it on my bed and call it a day. So kind of sharing that, but really seeing like the price of like the used market to kind of get it out there in people's eyes. Like, hey, this is what some of like, this stuff goes for used, and like look at the transmissions on there. Two, three, four, $5,000, and even like not even a rolling chassis. Some of the chassis don't have any suspension on it. It's just a bare frame, pretty much of the
Yeah.
body, going for $20,000. So when people think these cars is kind of steel and sheet metal put together, there's a lot of money in these cars. These are some 5, 10, even 15-year-old cars that are going for a lot of money. And just kind of sharing that, and also talk about social media. People really liked it. People got or gave me a lot of impressions from it. So
Yeah.
obviously, if it worked, it was the formula works, and the formula works. I never see anyone else posting about it. It is kind of funny because I had someone reach out and say, Brayton, are you being paid to share the Hendrick auction? I said, no, I'm not. I think it's really, really cool. And some guy, and I'm not going to name names, but this individual worked for an Xfinity team. I said, we're trying to buy like half of this stuff. So if you could quit posting about it until after it's over, we would greatly appreciate that.
Yeah, yeah.
I was like, I got you.
You go, I'm good. I got you. But that even just a testament to how well you know your audience and how well you know what to post, when to post, how to post, who you're posting to, and how long did that take you to learn that type of, I guess, social media marketing is what I'm going to call it. But I mean, you're a natural at it.
I've always, I don't want to say just kind of posting memes and random stuff, but I've always been the guy to kind of post random stuff.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
just because I'm a race car driver, doesn't necessarily mean I got to change my personality. And having a very outgoing personality, kind of being myself, both on the track and off the track, and using social media to kind of show people who I am, I think that is a big aspect that's missing from today's drivers in NASCAR. To look at the Cup Series, and this is a big, big debate. There's not a whole lot of people that really want to say a superstar personality or superstar driver like there was 20, 25 years ago. And I think a lot of it is drivers don't like to really voice their personalities and kind of express themselves. And I'm like, I'm not going to go out here and say something that's going to get me canceled or, say something that's going to offend people, but I'm going to, post something if I think it's interesting or find it fun or find it unique. And I'm a big history fan, so I find the history on something. I find that really really cool. Like whenever I drive a car, I try to find like the chassis number or the chassis ID,
Yeah.
and I would try and like track it down. Like, hey, here's who drove this car before I did. And so there's like one car a couple years ago. It was a Clint Boyer car. At the Richard Childress, and it was an All-Star car. So I'm like, it's pretty cool history. And just kind of sharing that information is just opening the door for fans that normally don't get to see that side of the sport, and it kind of hopefully lets them like understand really what goes into it as far as the behind the scenes.
And building, those relationships with your fans comes from like sharing things that are more personal to you. It comes from like, hey, here's something that's cool to me. Maybe it'll be cool to you. And then you build that relationship, you build the followers, the numbers, the insights, and all that follows, which is super, super cool. Something else that's super, super cool, awful segue on my end. So I apologize. But The NASCAR 25 game, they announced
Mhm.
that the ARCA Menard series will be in it. I know this is something on social media you've expressed interest in being involved in. I didn't know if you started to have talks about this or what that looks like.
Yeah, so I actually heard about it the day before it was announced, and I thought,
Oh,
"This is really, 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 really cool." And, I do kinda going back to I do a lot with the community as far as the eNASCAR side of things goes, and Discord, NASCAR has a Discord, and we used to do, we still do from time to time, the community game nights, and a lot of people don't know this, there was an official Minecraft server a couple years ago, and me and Roger Cruz and Daniel Dye all sat here and played on the Minecraft server for, like, 2 days where, like it was open to public, like, fans could play in it,
oh
and
my gosh, that's so cool.
there were like 20 or 30 people. It wasn't a super big deal. It was like owning a NASCAR Discord, and they kind of quit playing after a couple of days. And I played on it for like months, and so, like people kind of got to know me that way too. And even then, I still do a lot of like game nights with the community over on the NASCAR side of things. We did a lot of Rocket League, we did a lot of Fortnite stuff. We still do a lot of iRacing and other occasional random game nights from time to time. And I'm very active in the community. And people would message me out of the blue and I answer questions and whatnot. So kind of going into that, when I heard that ARCA was going to be in NASCAR 2025, I'm like, this is really, really cool. And I didn't know if I was going to be in it or what. And the post got made, and Steve Myers, vice president of iRacing, made the post like, "Hey, if you're a race car driver, or you're with a team, reach out to us." I was like, "Oh, I'm a race car driver. That's me. It's me." So I commented, I'm like, "Hi, Steve. I drive race cars." And the thing with like the ARCA segment is like talking about like running out of like a backyard garage. Well, Wayne, I don't want to say it's like a mobile home, but that's about the size of his house down in Pulaski, Tennessee, which is about an hour and a half south of Nashville. It's a town of probably a couple thousand people, and you're just driving down the main road through Nashville, or I'm sorry, through Pulaski, and there's like a little mobile home there with a two-car garage built on the end of it, and just race cars, just wrecked race cars, just parked all over. There's trees growing in them,
Wow.
and just you drive by and like, man, that looks like a junkyard. No, it's Wayne Peterson Motorsports. And so I kind of
Wow.
posted a picture of that. I was like, hey, we literally operate out of a two-car garage, and Wayne has to actually use like storage space from one of his neighbors down the road. I say neighbors loosely because his neighbor is like 15 minutes away. That's kind of how spread apart it is down there. And so like he has a big garage, and he'll store his cars that he's not using there. So that's a pretty cool story talking about like Venturini and Joe Gibbs and Pinnacle and Rev. They are like full blown NASCAR operations. They got pull down rigs, chassis dynos, the you know the full setup. And some of these teams, they go to these ARCA races with cup style pit boxes, and we're just there with our Harbor Freight toolbox, having a fun time and getting the most out of it.
Yeah, it's so amazing to hear that, iRacing is including ARCA because that's gonna give this series so much great exposure. The drivers that will be in that game, such great exposure, and just cool to see you, your car, whatever it is, in a video game. Like that's so awesome. And also too, not just exposure for you and just ARCA, but the teams like Wayne Peterson and just that's so cool. And I guess follow up to that too is do you have a favorite NASCAR game? I don't know if we talked about this before, but
This
like
is
I'm
gonna
so
sound
curious.
bad. I was never a super huge console person. Well, I
Mm.
was growing up. I always played Call of Duty. I never played the NASCAR games. And I just recently, I'm gonna get stabbed for this. I just recently, like 3 weeks ago, downloaded NR 2003 for the very first time,
Oh,
and that has been a rough experience because that is completely different than iRacing. So working, playing iRacing the last 5 or 6 years has been really cool, and kind of use that to help learn, kind of have fun. But then I get to NR 2003, which it's neat to see kind of the basis of iRacing, the groundwork of
yes.
iRacing on NR 2003, and then all the mods and everything. So I've been having a lot of fun with that. It's very difficult. I'm very bad at it, but I did do a lot of like Roblox racing games growing up.
Oh,
In
that's
like the
fun.
like the peak Roblox era in like the early 2010s. There were like a lot of fun kind of basic racing games that I kind of grew up on. So I never really had like a favorite console NASCAR game. Never really played a whole lot of those, but I'm really looking forward to NASCAR 25.
Hey, I'll give you Roblox though. I've never played Roblox at all. I was a Minecraft kid. This is what I grew up on. This is what I did. It would be hours and hours and hours of just Minecraft, just building my home,
What is
building a vehicle.
bad? Not to interrupt you, but I'm literally running my. I had to button this up because I can't unbutton it, but I'm wearing a Minecraft creeper shirt
Let's
under
go!
this, so that's funny that you mentioned that.
Yeah, the Minecraft, it was definitely the thing, but I've heard Roblox, like, racing in Roblox is so much fun, so I'll have to try it.
It really is. It's a very dedicated community too, and like you would be surprised some of the I don't want to say the physics of it because it's not really a physics engine, but some of the aspects of it that some of these creators have able to pull out from just a what people call a block game. It is
Yeah.
really really fun and really really exciting.
And you talk about building community. Let's kind of jump back to not just the virtual world of racing, but the on track real world of racing here for a second with your great initiative with Drive for Humanity.
Mhm.
You have really cool stuff you're working on with them. Would you mind kind of sharing a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so that was kind of something that we launched up a couple of years ago, and I've always had a soft spot for those that are unhoused, and Indianapolis, especially where I'm from, has a big homelessness problem, and like you just drive around town, you see it, and no one's really doing anything about it. And so I remember being 8, 9 years old, me and my dad were just kind of driving downtown, and right by Gamebridge Fieldhouse, well, it's not called Gamebridge, it is called Gamebridge, yep, Gamebridge Fieldhouse, where they play basketball. There's a big underpass right there, probably about a quarter mile long, and that's where you always see a lot of homeless people. And there's an Arby's right at the end of the underpass or overpass, and I was like, Dad, let's go get them some roast beef sandwiches. And so that was kind of like the first, like, hey, these people, even a little bit, it helps them out a lot. And
Mhm.
so I went, we got like 20 something roast beef sandwiches, went and handed them out, and they were super thankful. And so now I was kind of trying if I'm able to stop and help out, go buy someone some food. If I see someone that's just down on their luck, try and give them a hand. And there was a story a couple years ago where there was an individual in a Walmart parking lot, just probably 15 minutes south of where me and my parents lived at the time, in Frankton, Indiana. He was just living out of his van in a Walmart parking lot. We, took him propane and clothes and blankets, and try to stay in touch as best as we could, kind of help him out there. And so with Drive for Humanity, we're making it where people can help out on a bigger scale. And it was like I said, it was pretty local to Indianapolis, kind of helping out. And it was nothing more than just kind of saying, hey, we kind of have a nonprofit, just kind of cover our behinds if anything happens. But now we're like, hey, we can actually use this for good. We can raise funds, and so I can kind of tie that into the racing. So we're going to be doing something we're calling Mission 2025, where tying in with the full-time Arca Menard schedule, where people can donate $5 minimum. They can get their name on my race car at Daytona, Talladega, and then a race of their choice on the full Arca Menards schedule. So that is really, really cool that people are able to donate, feel good, and help themselves, or not help themselves, to help others. And then I'm able to sit there and use it as a platform where I'm able to help not just those in my community, but we're going to be helping out. We're going to be raising awareness, with local food banks. We're going to have local food banks in the car. We're going to do food drives, and we're donating goods, from clothing to perishable goods, perished good, that
Wow.
canned goods,
Yeah.
hand warmers is a big thing, especially when you get there like September, October, and like February and March here, where a lot of these people they just have trouble staying warm. And propane especially too. A lot of people don't think about that. These communities, they have like propane grills. They just don't have any propane, so that's a big thing that a lot of people don't think of. And so we're going to be kind of getting these items together, and we're going to be buying these items and going and donating them at every city that we race at along the 2025 calendar. So able to use something I'm very I care a lot for, helping people out, but using the racing as a part of that to kind of tie it in hand, and then not only just donating, but you also get the name on a race car, so it encourages people to donate, and they're actually getting something in return for helping those people out.
And it's something so great about this industry where you can merge really incredible causes with, racing. It puts them on a platform, and also the fact that you're bringing fans and others into this by, giving them a spot on your race car, but also helping them, encourage them to support something really good is fantastic. So if you all want to help support that, just go look up Drive for Humanity. I know Brayton has this like on his socials as well. So make sure to check that out. But Brayton, it's been so lovely to talk to you, preview your season and everything you have coming up. Awesome to hear where you're going this year. And we thank you so much for joining us.
No, thank you. It has been a pleasure getting to talk to you, and hopefully at the end of the season we can say, "Hey, I did something cool this season," and really
Yeah.
looking forward to that. So, I posted the link on YouTube as well. I don't know if it went through, but it's driveforhumanity.org, and you also go to my X. That's at the one pizza man. or my website and find all my social media there. But the Drive for Humanity link is pinned at the top of my X profile, and then Facebook is at Brayton Laster Motorsports or at Brayton Laster, and then Instagram is at Brayton Laster, and same thing with TikTok. Which TikTok, I was a pretty avid user on TikTok for a while, and then got shut down. I'm like, oh man, but
Oh
now it's
no,
back.
it's back,
So
guys. Make sure to follow Brayton on all social media platforms. Brayton, again, lovely to talk to you. I will likely try to find you in Daytona, so I guess I'll see you then.
it's going to be a fun time, and thank you for everyone listening as well. I saw we had a lot of questions. I'm gonna go through and answer them in the YouTube chat after I get out of here. So thank you for having me on.
Fantastic. Yeah, thanks so much. Have a good night.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye. Awesome. That was Brayton Laster. Of course, make sure to check out Drive for Humanity on Brayton's social media platforms. Look them up, support their cause. But always good to see, drivers that we talked to a few years ago that, we're trying to work their way through the ranks. They had a few races here and there. Brayton's done so good with his marketing and social media, and seeing where he is today with a full-time ride. And I'm so excited to see what he can make of that. It sounds like a fantastic situation for all parties involved. So great to have Brayton on the show. Speaking of like the social media and like marketing side of things, I guess this was like the perfect day to have like another guest as part of our channel, as part of our show. And she is very involved, our next guest, in the marketing, social media, PR side of the sport. She is a COO of a company and younger than me. I think of like, if someone is a COO, I usually think about someone who's like 40, 50, super old. No, I mean, not super old, but older. She's crushing it for all that she's been doing, and I am so excited to welcome Bethany Sox into the show to talk all about what she has going on. So let's bring in Bethany. Hello.
Hi, Taylor. How are you doing today?
Good. How are you?
I am doing fantastic. It's been a long weekend trying to get caught up on everything for RPM, and I just came back from Nashville, so trying to get everything kind of like situated for the company side. It's been a little chaotic, but we're getting through it.
Yeah, so talk about RPM. Talk about, everything you have going on there. Just really, launched your big part in this. I'd love to learn more.
So I actually got started in motorsports marketing. I was born into racing. So I've been involved in drag racing all my life. My uncle drag raced for almost 50 years in NHRA.
Wow.
And so I kind of grew up in the shadow and the spotlight of that. And then when I was about 16 years old, I got involved in lower division short track racing at South Boston Speedway in Orange County Speedway with the first female driver to like race kind of in the late model divisional series. And then spawning from that, I signed on a couple like big sponsors. One of them was Driven Sunglasses. And going from that, I went on to manage Orange County Speedway last year with our PM group. And then we purchased the company at the beginning of this year. It was signed over to my cousin and I. And so we've just kind of taken over for the marketing and social media roles with that. And it's been fantastic. Like just having a speedway that I've basically got my feet wet in, it's been phenomenal to like still have the same fans there. And, track, I even have my senior pictures done at. Like, it's just so ironic to like be there managing it.
I feel like sometimes when, you talk to people that have had motorsports around them their whole life, a lot of the times it's like, oh, I want to be a driver. I want to do this, that. What drew you to the marketing and like the social media PR side of things?
So my uncle was like very strict about how he presented himself. And so when I first wanted to get into racing, my first race I ever watched was the 2020 Daytona 500. That was my first late model race I got into. And I was just really drawn to the fact that Ryan Newman had that tremendous wreck, how much the media like was able to use that for big attention. You also had Donald Trump there. Like, it was just, an event that like people remembered for having stuff like that. And, I really thought about it. And, every kid's biggest dream is to be the driver. And I just got started. I got my feet wet in social media. And my original passion was PR. And I've meshed the two together now to handle the marketing, social media, and PR together to be a manager for drivers to help them kind of like navigate stuff. And through my uncle's legacy, seeing how he kind of like handled himself, and like he was the first driver in NHRA to have uniforms, and they were all white. Imagine that. Like, you've been at the race, like all white uniforms. Mine are typically all black. But to see how he just carried himself through that, and to help drivers like them carry themselves a certain way and present a professional image, that's something that just means a lot to me.
And when you talk about, helping drivers, present a professional image of themselves and try to teach them the skills they need to know to, be marketable or to best represent themselves. What does that process look like? Is it, classes, is it conversations, or is it just an all-encompassing sort of teaching that you guys do?
That's a great question. It's really stepping them through it, leading by example is what I like to call it.
I love
So
that.
one of my drivers is, I think he just turned 14, or he's about to turn 14,
Wow.
Lane Woods. And last year he killed it. He won like every race. He only lost one race last year that I attended,
Wow.
which sucks. But so he wasn't like, his mom would hold up index cards for him. So like he knew what to say and that kind of stuff. And so by the time like we were working with him, like I was announcing some. So like having someone they were comfortable with on the other side of the mic, asking them the questions led them to a more peaceful atmosphere to help them kind of understand how to navigate that stuff.
And you talked about how you were doing some announcing and things like that, and I feel like it's so important nowadays in this industry, especially in the media side of things, to be multi-talented, to be able to do the announcing, the broadcasting, to know social media. How crucial has that been for you to know a little bit of everything, and even too with your education, helping you expand on your skills?
It boils down to being a female in a male-dominated industry. You have to know how to do a bit of everything, and you know that, like
Oh, yeah.
understand, like because you do it all. It's been difficult. I have friends that one of my friends, Kevin Chevy, he works for the car store pretty much full time. He's kind of helped me with learning how to handle myself and writing press releases and that kind of stuff. And then there's some of my other friends like Jacqueline Drake. He's a decently big name in the industry.
Yeah.
That's kind of like helped me through walking through the process of interviewing people. And then you have people that also manage the social media, like Jacqueline knows that too. Um, how to do that. And like I've taught multiple people how to handle their own social media and that kind of stuff, because that's what attracts sponsors at the end of the day. And they're gonna go look at your social media profile and see if
Mhm.
they like what they see or not before they decide to fork out that kind of money. So yeah, that's kind of how that came about.
And you mentioned, the sponsors, this is how they fork out a lot of money when they see your social media and things like that. So, what's the number one thing you tell drivers when they're just starting out, when they're just starting out working with you about their social media presence, about marketing, what they need to be doing to be successful?
Stop 10 minutes before you post something and make sure that's really what you want to say. Because there's so many times, especially as humans and especially as females, like if we want to post something and share our life, like immediately,
I know.
um, and it's hard, but like you have to stop and think if that's really what you want to post. And like it wasn't until recently, really, that I started posting about my personal life and encouraging some of my drivers that it's okay to post about your personal life, your kids, your wife, your family. Because when sponsors see that you're a human being and you're not just this guy that gets in a car one day a week, like they want to be part of that. They want to be a part of something good.
Mhm. And how do you find that balance? And I know this is probably a lot of about your comfortability with it, but how do you find that balance between how much do you share with your personal life to really let people know who you are versus, keeping, a part of yourself to yourself? Because that has to be a struggle for drivers.
Yes. So that's another thing, leading by example too. And some of my drivers have been an example to me in that regard. Um, it's difficult at times. Like I recently got in a relationship with a absolutely amazing guy, the love of my life, and it can be hard working in a male-dominated industry to kind of like balance the two. Where okay, I'm working around men all the time, and then I have a boyfriend that I really care about, and sometimes I don't think that drivers understand that to the extreme, and that can
Yes.
be really difficult. But sharing those parts and being a human to other people, I think that shows people a different side of us that makes them see it and want it, because we can lead by example in that way, and people see that we're real and that we're genuine and that we really love what we do. Because at the end of the day, racing is just a small part of who I am. Even though it's a big part of who I am, it's just a small part. I still have a life that I live outside of that, and I know every single person does. It's something we only do one day a week, and life is lived in between races. I just feel like a lot of pressure is on during the weekends when we are performing at our jobs.
Yeah, it's such a balance to try to, like, say, how much do I keep personal? How much do I put out there? But then it's also the balance of, like, motorsports is my life. This is my hobby. This is my career, but you are right. There are parts of it that we live outside. I mean, you brought up a good conversation about, keeping your significant other private. I literally had this conversation with my significant other yesterday where I was like, "Hey, I want you to know whenever I mention, like, my support system in interviews and I don't mention you, it's not because I don't love you, because I do. It's because, like, I just want to keep you to myself. Like, I don't want the world to
Yes.
know. There's a balance there."
Yes, and it's difficult at times because you want the whole world to know, and then it's like, okay, well, the whole motorsports world is gonna know, and then it just kind
Yeah.
of puts, especially as a female, it puts everybody in an awkward position at times. So
Oh, for sure, for sure. And, with that too, I mean, talking about being a woman in motorsports, you mentioned, there are some hardships with it. There are some things you have to navigate that are a little different. I know a lot of my audience here is a male audience, and I know that they come here because they respect the takes, they respect the guests, they respect everything. But even just keying them into what you experience on the marketing side as a female in motorsports, what hardships you do go through, or what you've had to learn to navigate.
it's hard, at times. I recently joined Women in Motorsports North America last year, and I joined Osprey, the community Osprey this year. And those two communities have been so helpful to me because they have actual brands backing them up and drivers backing them up. Actually, I think they had a partnership with Ray-Bans and Nike, and then Women in Motorsports North America recently got Jimmy Johnson on board. So
Yeah.
like having drivers like that, like it's a big deal to us. And the Force sisters, they've been people that have constantly inspired me because, also their dad is like, he used to race against my uncle. So there's family connections there. So,
Yeah.
it's cool to be a leader and at the same time learning to set an example for other females while also taking guidance from other females.
And it's so important to be able to kind of lead the way, pave the way. And in some aspects of what you do, what I do, other females do, we kind of feel like we're carving the path for others that are after us to make it easier. Do you ever feel like that's a burden, or do you feel like it's a blessing, or a little bit of both? Because I know it can feel a little heavy sometimes.
It's a little bit of both. I had a mom walk up to me, I think this was last year in Orange County, and she had like a little 3-year-old girl with her, and she said, "Thank you so much for being an inspiration to my child, someone that she can look up to, and I'm not worried about her." And
Oh,
that almost made me cry because, I know what it's like to follow someone. I'm just going to be 100% honest here. Follow somebody, and then it turns out you seek mentorship from them, and they're not what you thought they were.
yep.
And as
Yeah.
a female that's emotional, that breaks my heart at times. And
Right.
so you have to also remember to keep a clean reputation because kids are looking up to you. Like, even if you don't see it, there's a child on the other side of that fence that wants your job one day. And they're
Exactly.
looking up to you, and they're going to remember that 10, 20 years down the road. Hey, I watched them do this. This is how they screwed up. Hey, I watched them do this. This is how they were good at it. And either way is a way for them to learn. And if they can learn something good off of me, I would love that. If they learn something that I did bad that they think they can do better and it helps the motorsports industry, I would love that too.
And with that leadership role that you're in, not only for other women in the sport, but to your drivers at RPM, I mean, talk about leading by example, right? Where can other drivers or talent in the industry find RPM and find you to get the help that they need for the marketing, for the social media?
So we're updating our website now, but you can find us at rpmgroupnc.com, and then we're also on Instagram and Facebook at rpmgroupnc.
And then for people who want to follow you in your personal journey, where can they find you?
Everything is hey.its_Bethany on
I love
Instagram.
that. Awesome. Well, everyone, make sure to follow Bethany, follow RPM. Bethany, it's been so lovely to talk with you, meet you tonight, and I definitely appreciate your time and hope you come back soon.
Thank you. It was so nice talking to you, Taylor, and thank you for having me on.
Awesome. Have a good night.
You too.
Bye. Awesome. That was Bethany Sox. I appreciate both Bethany and Brayton for being on the show tonight. Very marketing, social media heavy, but we like to harp on these topics. One, because it's my bread and butter, so I'm a little biased. But two, they are so important for everyone in the industry, from drivers, teams, crews, etc., and those outside the industry, fans, to know about, because it really is what makes this industry turn. It's obviously the people 100%, but the social media, like how good that does, helps you get sponsorships. You wonder why a driver doesn't have any sponsors. Sometimes it goes down to social media, which is crazy. But sometimes that's the case. You also look at the marketing of drivers, how they present themselves, how they get themselves out of a PR nightmare, a PR crisis, whatever that is. And, it's people like Bethany and RPM that are helping these drivers really succeed and kind of help mold their presence and help them, feel confident when they go to the racetrack. So awesome work that she's doing there. And then, of course, for Brayton Laster, excited to see what he does this season with a full-time ARCA ride. So great. And also, of course, as we go throughout the season, we'll have more amazing guests on to share their incredible stories, share incredible advice. But yeah, great advice from both our guests tonight. So thank you both for coming on the show. We're going to move into the ATYL Live crew segment of this all. We have to talk a little bit about Rockingham. We have to preview Bowman Gray. Guys, we're getting back into the NASCAR season. This is crazy. I feel like the off season didn't happen at all. It's been so busy, but we are finally back in action with racing. And then, of course, we have to go through our 2025 predictions, because come on, like we could not start the season off without us telling you our bold predictions and half of them probably being wrong, which, by the way, I have a full-length video coming out tomorrow with my personal season predictions for 2025. I'm not going to share all of them tonight, so you guys watch the video tomorrow. But if you follow my Patreon, the entire video is up now early for you all to see. So check that out. But right now, I've done enough rambling, you guys. Let's bring in the crew. Dom, Joseph, Adam, Lucas. Gentlemen, hello.
Good evening. It's a throwback kind of day, isn't it?
I was going to say we have a Busch Series official joining us tonight. So
yes. Yeah. I heard we had cars at Rockingham, so I figured I'd get back into the swing of things.
Yeah, let's talk about that. Adam, you were there. I want to hear your takes first from the stands. How was that for you?
That track is fast. Oh my God. Yeah. We're going to shatter every record, I think, come April. Yeah, that was, I felt like I was 11 years old again. Like, wow, just going back in a time warp. And she's going to age. She's going to be great. It's going to be fantastic. I'm really excited with what I saw today.
From the media side, I was there with Racing America. Shout out to Racing America. Go follow them if you're not, because we're going to have incredible content coming up for Daytona and Rockingham and stuff like that. So side note there, to plug them. But I was there with Racing America today in the pit area, the garage area, interviewing a ton of drivers. But it felt so nice from the media perspective to get back into work in a calmer way. I'm going to be at Daytona, so to just jump right in at Daytona would be very stressful. So it was good to, really chat with the drivers. They were more relaxed. This is testing. You're learning, you're taking your notes, you're doing your due diligence, but kind of seeing everybody as excited as we are for the season to start was awesome. And then Mr. Busch Series official over here, the historical importance of coming back to Rockingham, and of course, Casey Kane returning to NASCAR in the Xfinity Series for one race.
Yeah, for sure. And this is also fruition of that one congressional bill that was passed to help save the North Carolina racetracks. And here we are with Rockingham joining North Wilkesboro. So this is awesome to see come to fruition. I know there's going to be people out there is like, well, why couldn't the Cup Series go there too? It's like, you got to crawl before you can run.
Yes. Yeah.
Thrilled that we could get both Xfinity and the trucks here this time. Last time it was just the trucks. So one step at a time. And it makes me so happy to hear Adam say that it was a good test day and that the results were positive. That's awesome. So makes it even more enticing to get a ticket to go to that race.
Something that I want to bring also to attention is that with everyone being relaxed, usually testing is hectic. This is a breath of fresh air. It's almost as if we might have a testing resurrection in the future. I mean, I'm all for track time, getting laps, logging laps, looking at the data. Although data can be a little skewed, it's more so just feeling it. So, it was just a great day.
Yeah, every driver I talk to was like, thank God testing is back. We barely get to test. I'm so glad we do because a lot of these drivers, too, are jumping into their series full time for the first time, jumping into the truck or the car for the first time in their respective series. A lot of these drivers run part time and they don't get a lot of seat time. So to have something like this for them to kind of get a baseline for the season is awesome. I talked to Matt Mills, too. Obviously, he had a rough year last year. And so kind of talked to him about what is it like to get back in the truck, kind of figuring out that baseline, gelling with your team again. And he's like, this is so important. Like it's so rare we get to do this. And it's helpful for me to kind of, walk those steps back into the truck. So it's important to so many people for so many reasons. And it was cool to talk to Casey Kane. And I was like, why now? Why join NASCAR now? He goes, well, coming back to it, when I saw Rockingham on the schedule, I had to do it. It was one of those things where he's like, I just have to. And, the deal coming together was so awesome. But it was cool to see everybody in a testing environment. The schemes, you guys. The test schemes. Do we have a favorite that we were able to see? Because they were all pretty good.
I don't want to brag or anything, but I got some really hot shots of Casey's car today.
That car was so good.
I will say, like, I did like Casey Kane's car where there's no number or anything, but it is very Chevy sponsored, and I like that. But I'm a sucker for a primer car, and just seeing the gray cars with just a white number on the side. Adam, Daytona preseason thunder. That's all I could think of.
On the drive out to Rockingham, my stepdad came with me today, and we were trying to remember when was the last time we actually saw a NASCAR open test. And sure enough, it was like Daytona 2006.
Yeah.
So it's been a long time.
And I understand tests can be costly. They are not well with time in the ever-changing world of we need to bring more time to sponsors and stuff like that. But this was so important to these drivers and these teams. And to see how many fans showed up on this is Tuesday. Yeah. A Tuesday afternoon. Insane.
When I went out, there was like 4 stairwells you could go up into the grandstands. The first one I went in, I was like, all right, yeah, we're gonna go straight to the top and look. I turned my head, sea of people. It was insane to see the amount of people that were out on a Tuesday, nonetheless.
Yeah.
And an opportunity to come back out tomorrow. Now, apparently they're going to have a little extended time.
Yes, so the extended time came from the track being damp because of weather. Yesterday, they tried to dry the track, but that ate into the test time. So NASCAR is allowing these teams to come back for an additional 2 hours tomorrow if they would like to continue testing, which I think is a pretty good deal. So yeah, and the Tricon scheme, I was so drawn to those. They look so good. Again, the test cars never disappoint, and even the ones that they had nothing on them, just the number. Classic. Love it. So good testing today from Rockingham. Very excited about that. Let's go into our predictions right now. We'll end with Bowman Gray. To know the background of this, every year since I think 2023, the ATYL crew has had a running list of our predictions every single NASCAR season. They get progressively worse and more insane. And a lot of them are wrong, but I actually think looking at some of them this year, I think we really thought this through and maybe weren't as ambitious potentially because we want to be right. I'm a person that likes to be right. I rarely am. But this year I'm trying. So with that said, I want you all to drop your predictions in the comments below for the 2025 season. I will read them off as we go along, but I kind of want to rotate through this one prediction at a time. Dom, you are going to share your first prediction for 2025. Spotlight's on you, sir.
So we're going one at a time?
Yeah.
Okay. So my first one is my little tinfoil hat theory.
Oh, love this.
And I will read it exactly how I typed it. Was FedEx the problem? Denny Hamlin wins the NASCAR Cup in 2025.
We're starting off cold. All right.
Oh my goodness.
I just have that thought in my head where it's like, of course, the first year FedEx isn't on the car, he wins it.
Oh yeah. I could see that being a thing that happens for better or worse. I do. It could be. I mean, I'll tell you right now with one, I guess I'll go next because one of my predictions is, I don't think Denny Hamlin is going to make it past the round of 12. So kind of opposite to you here. Either he's going to win the championship, dominate, etc., or he's just going to flop. And I don't know what else to say. I've picked him to win the championship so many years in a row, and there's only so many times I can be disappointed. So I guess that's one for me. Adam, what you got?
So I have reverse psychology written all over my prediction.
Oh, I love this.
It sort of worked last year with a specific driver. They made it to the Final Four. They finished second. They did not win. So technically, that prediction was correct. I'm going to keep the theme going this season and also say the Ryan Blaney Championship from 2023 hangover continues for a second year. He's going to suck.
See, I just
it's part of the reverse psychology. If I say it out loud, he's gonna stink. He's gonna wreck. He's gonna be god awful. The terrible third Penske car. Maybe he won't. So I'm just gonna air it out right now.
So let me just counter with that.
Please do.
This is for the Blaney fans. This is just for the Blaney fan. Like, I hear you. Like, sometimes reverse psychology works, but last Monday I told myself, be optimistic, because if you have bad thoughts, bad things will happen. Just don't even let that enter your mind.
Yeah.
And later that night, I put a 30 sticker on this helmet. So
let's go.
Optimism is key.
Optimism is key. Oh, yes. This was a good comment, by the way, from Justin. Isn't it always Denny's year, though? No matter how bad it is, it's always his year. It always is. Denny DNF 6 times. It's my year. You know. Oh goodness. I guess next prediction, is it on me? I lost track. I'm not gonna lie to you guys.
I'll go.
Okay, go for it.
It's perfect. So it's a good counter to what Adam said.
Okay.
And I'm going to put no context to this because there's a reasoning behind it. But if you really know, you'll know. Ryan Blaney will win the Worth 400 at Texas Motor Speedway.
Okay.
If you know why, you know why.
All right.
I think I know why, but I'm not going to say it. I want everybody else to figure it out.
We'll see. If I will say something if someone gets it in the chat.
Yeah. You'll get a shout out if you guys get it. Next prediction for me, I think we will have 3 first-time winners in the regular season for the Cup Series. And I don't think these guys are a big stretch for winners per se, because I think Ty Gibbs is going to win a race this season. I think it's a given. If he doesn't win, I will be shocked. I do think that we'll see a Carson Hocevar win. He's done incredibly well in that Spire equipment. I think, having new teammates might help. It might hurt. I don't know. But I think they have a really strong group over there and good equipment. And then Todd Gilliland, he is going to win a super speedway race. I don't know which one it's going to be this year, but he will win one. I think, again, you go back to he's working with a new group of teammates this year with Noah Gregson and Zane Smith. So a little different from his side of things too, working with how do we build teamwork together? How do we trust each other on these tracks and work together? But I think those 3 drivers are going to get a win, which I guess in turn means they're going to lock themselves into the playoffs, which that's something to think about too for myself. So bold prediction, at least I think I'll get one of those right, if not 2, but 3 is bold. So I digress.
I guess I can kind of build on that with some of my predictions and
please do.
take like 3 of them and throw them into one. So I agree with you. I think Todd Gilliland gets his first career win.
Yes, let's go.
I'm not saying it's going to be on a super speedway though.
Oh, okay.
That's the boldness of it. It's going to happen. It's just going to happen.
You think fuel mileage has anything to do with it, or you think it's an outright win?
A win is a win.
That's true. Fair enough.
Yeah. And then also, I think Ty Gibbs does get a win. However, I think Austin Cindric gets a win before Ty Gibbs gets his first career win. So I'm calling out Cindric. I think he's going to get a dub before he does.
Cindric's been building consistency. We talked about this at the beginning of the season where we're like, he has to find something, because it's like we get to like year 2 with him and we're like, does he deserve to be in this seat? What does it look like? And this past year, I think he really did prove himself. Now he has to build upon it this year. But it does beg the question of like, hey, now that he's getting more consistent, can he knock out these wins a little quicker, and wins plural? So I like that prediction.
If Austin can take any notes, if he's going to get a win, it's all because of his social media presence right now. He's been killer.
He's been killing
it. The fake out. Oh, man. Yeah.
Yeah,
Total wins right there. So let's carry it over to the track and get an actual W.
for real.
I'm just not even going to delay it any further.
Go for it. Rip off the
Odd
Band-Aid.
number year.
Yeah. Yep.
I'll combine two of them. I just put odd number year ... And then another one I have, speaking of Mr. Logano, is that he will get one crown jewel this year.
Do you have a specific guess on as to which one, or
I just put he will win a crown jewel.
Okay, I like that. I like that. Like a statement.
Gotta
I'm gonna
expand my horizons.
You do a little bit. I think the more specific we make them, the more wrong we can be. But also, like, the more specific you make them, it makes it a little bit more challenging as well. So, I mean, I like that. One crown jewel win, not that bad. I want to read some of yours as we go along here. Also, I do love Ravaging Wolverine. You have the best one-liners in the comment section. ATYL, stay for the race analysis. Wait, come for the race analysis, stay for the horrible segues. I'm awful at segues. I appreciate that. We got NASCAR dude saying Joey Logano will not make the playoffs. Interesting. We've seen this before. So
we have seen this before.
We have seen this before.
Hmm.
And then he always comes back stronger. We have my prediction is Kyle Larson finishes top 5 in the Indy 500 and wins the Coke 600 later in that day. I will say one of my predictions for Kyle Larson is he will beat Tony Stewart's record in terms of finishes in the Indy 500 and the 600. Complete all laps is my bold prediction there, but it all is going to depend on Mother Nature. I think he's a driver skill wise that can do it, so I agree here. Blaney's going to have a good season, like that prediction here. I guess we could talk about, do we have any predictions about like Connor Zilic? Anyone wants to share before I read this one?
I put he wins at least 3 Xfinity races.
Okay.
I said he's going to dominate and win 6+.
6+. Damn.
6+. What's that SVG?
Is Junior Motorsports capable of that?
That's a good question.
If it was a Gibbs car, I'd believe you.
Dominate.
Yeah, I mean, I think there is so much good talent. We've talked about this. We've harped on this every single live stream I think we've done. How much the talent is stacked in the Xfinity series. And when it came to Connor Zilic, we were like, okay, a shoe-in for Rookie of the Year, gonna win multiple races. And then I'm remembering, I remember how dominant the Gibbs cars were the past so many years, right? And how even the drivers in their like one-off all-star seats would win the races outside of the full-time guys, even the full-time Junior Motorsports drivers. However, Junior Motorsports has a stacked field this year. Carson Quaffle, Connor Zilic, the reigning champ. And then you also have Sammy Smith, who's in his second year with the team. So lots of good happening here. This prediction here, Connor Zilic will finish top 10 in his Cup Series debut at Circuit of the Americas. I talked to Connor today as he was at the test for Rockingham. Very excited about that debut. I'm looking forward to be working with his Trackhouse teammates. And of course, having more seat time at these tracks should help him quite a bit from Xfinity to Cup. The cars are pretty different, but at least getting to know the track is really helpful for him. Good. Then I'll read one more prediction before we'll bring it back to Adam here. All 4 Gibbs cars will get into the playoffs, but only Christopher Bell will make it to the round of 8. Wow. Okay.
That's honestly,
I like that though.
That's a solid pickup right there.
Because you have Briscoe that's new to this team. Expectations are unknown for him. Obviously, you know what we hope he could do, but
I didn't put this down, but I wouldn't be surprised if he goes on a tear.
I wouldn't be shocked either. I honestly kind of want to see that. If I'm being a little biased here, I want him to do well in the 19. I want to see the 19 in victory lane left and right. I think the other big thing too is he has a sponsor that is backing him the entire season. I know other sponsors do that just on a smaller scale, or just we only see, like, I think Ally's the only one that comes to mind in the Cup Series right now, but to have a partner backing him like this and to see the support that Joe Gibbs Racing and Joe Gibbs himself has put behind Chase Briscoe, he is set up for success. Can he capitalize on it? There's going to be a learning period. We understand that, but should be good to see. But I like this prediction a lot. I really do. Bold. Adam, what you got?
I got a couple.
Go for it.
Let's see. Once again, I'm going to use reverse psychology because I think a little opposite of how Dom thinks. If I think the bad things out, then they don't happen. So I regret to say this. I'm sure I'm going to, but I'm going to just get it off of my chest. SVG is going to struggle mightily in his first full Cup season.
I see that.
Yes, he'll be a threat on the road courses, but he will not get a win.
Wow.
Permission to counter with
Go
my
ahead.
prediction. Ross
Please counter.
Chastain and Shane Van Gisbergen lock into the playoffs before Daniel Suarez.
Oh, I see that. Yeah.
Yeah. With the counter to my reverse psychology, yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
But wouldn't it be hilarious if all 3 Trackhouse cars do make it, and it's because they all won road courses?
I mean, I'd be here for it.
You want to throw that into the prediction somewhere?
Yeah,
Honestly.
somewhere. I'll write it in under yours because I actually think that's not bad.
I see it right there. Yep, go for it.
As I'm typing this in, Dom, what you got? Or Adam, did you want to continue?
Yeah, go Adam.
Go for it.
No, we can go on. We can move on. There's nothing connected to that one.
So the next one I have in terms of playoffs, and it's going to go against what a lot of people in the chat are saying.
Oh, no.
Hendrick Motorsports shut out of the championship 4.
Okay. Do you feel confident that they figured out Phoenix in the fall at this point, based off of their previous championship 4 appearances in the Gen 7?
Well, they've got to win Martinsville first.
Martinsville in the fall,
Actually,
not the
Yeah.
spring. You can dominate
true.
the spring all you want, but it's the fall that's where the
all that
big
matters.
bills happen.
Hendrick
Yeah.
loves when Fox is covering the races.
Yes.
When NBC comes aboard, they forget how to drive race cars.
This is
Ooh,
true.
are we gonna go back to my my prediction last summer of
Oh,
the
please.
summer slump for
Yeah.
Hendrick?
Yeah.
And I mean,
Okay.
he kind of got it right.
You kind of did.
I mean, Larson did have a couple, and then Bowman won
Yeah.
Chicago.
Yeah.
But compared to
But-
where they started to where they were in this, that's considered a slump for Hendrick Motorsports, I would say.
If you can't win every other third race, it's a slump.
Yeah,
This
right.
is fair.
Very
Yeah.
true.
Must be nice.
I'm seeing a lot of comments about Kyle Busch here. I have Kyle Busch potentially winning the 500 this year. It's either him or Ryan Blaney for me. I see Justin saying Kyle Busch has another winless season. Now, Justin, you probably know this stat. You're very stat savvy. You know this industry left and right. I got you. But literally, I talked to Kyle Busch. This was yesterday at RCR, and I was like, okay, so Dale Sr., 20 years of trying, 20 years of frustration, goes winless the previous year, then wins the 500 the next year. You went winless last season. Could you follow the same path? You've tried for 20 years. Could you win the 500? He goes, man, I'd hope so. And let's talk about the significance of what it would mean for RCR. And I feel like sometimes in NASCAR, stories work out the way they should. They just always tend to. So we could see that RCR Super Speedway program is super strong. Yes.
I'll add to this.
Yeah.
Earnhardt went winless the season before he won his 500.
Yeah.
The
So,
stars
yeah.
are aligning, man.
I was going to say, the stories in NASCAR always tend to work out. So Earnhardt went winless the season before he won his first 500. Everything seems to be aligning, and knowing how close Kyle was at like Atlanta, for instance, last year. Daytona in the fall, or I guess summer, was pretty good for him, if I'm remembering correctly. So yeah, I mean, you never know, but I mean, there are things to be said that maybe he goes winless again this year. Maybe he does win just one race. There's a lot of talking points this year with Kyle Busch, but he seemed pretty confident, sticking with the same crew chief, but there were a lot of internal changes at RCR during the off season, which should hopefully help them more than hurt them, is the hope. Okay, John, what about Noah Gragson?
I like John's take.
Yeah.
That's a good one. But what are we giving me? He
a win?
For?
A win? I'd like to see Noah
Daytona.
win. Oh, for Daytona. Okay.
Yeah.
Honestly, we'll have to see that. I want to see Noah in victory lane. I really do.
I'll make another prediction that is not in the list. I think this year's 500 winner is going to be a pure wild card. I do not think it's going to be someone we're expecting to win.
And BJ McLeod was the Daytona 500.
That would feed millions. Anthony Alfredo.
Gosh, and I mean, we're gonna talk about this when the 500 comes around, but the open car field is stacked.
If there's a trend, if there's a trend with the way these super speedway races have ended, it doesn't matter how you run the first 195 laps. It's surviving the last 5.
Yeah.
So I think
when the
there's a
green white
legitimate
checker
threat.
caution comes out.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Make sure you push the right manufacturer.
Mm-hmm. Mm.
There are repercussions.
Oh, all right.
Sorry, buddy.
Pain.
We'll drink for that one.
Yeah, a little drink, a little sip.
Here, we'll pour one out for PR.
Yeah. All right. After pouring one out for a friend there. Where are we at with predictions?
We're everywhere.
Adam, what's your next prediction?
I'm tapped out.
Maxed out?
I think I've added more than I've even written down, so I'm good.
Okay.
I've got one more.
Yeah, one
and
more.
it's
Go for it.
that Matt Crafton wins at least one Craftsman truck race this year.
Oh,
Okay.
all right.
That's fine.
I would just,
Makes sense.
it would do us a lot of good for Crafton to win again.
Yeah.
I just feel like
I think it would
he's
do him a
paid
lot
his
of good
dues
too.
for so long.
Yeah.
All
and
right,
if he's going to win a 4th, I'd like for him to win a race this time.
That's a good point.
This is fair.
Very, very true.
As an
I'll make one
official,
more.
I don't approve.
All right, so my final one is the Haas Factory Xfinity team.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to get knocked down a peg mightily. They're going to struggle.
Oh.
They're going to struggle
wow.
hard.
Yeah, you just reminded me. I had another one that says Sheldon goes winless again.
Oh. I think Sheldon
not in
will
the
at
cards,
least win
bud.
one this year.
I'm sorry, it's just not in the cards.
Well, testing was a little rough for Sam Mayer today. So that was a kind of bad way to start the season. So we Grandpa's comment. You're very brave, Dom. Very brave.
Oh.
Hi, Mama. Shout out to Judy Kitchen in the comments. So I will save the rest of my predictions for the video that goes live tomorrow. But if you follow me on Patreon, you get early access to content. So find it there.
Do it.
So, yeah. Let me read the rest of your predictions on here too. Oh, wait, there was a good prediction about Lane Riggs here. Lane Riggs makes the Final Four. I'd love to see that. The fact that he finally started clicking on all cylinders when the playoff hit from them. He found it. He found it. And having a teammate in Chandler Smith this year, really good. I talked to him today too. He's like, it's so good to have the extra data, talking about how crucial it is. You know, there's a positive to being a single car team or being a one driver team where you kind of can keep that data to yourself. But when you can collaborate, it helps everybody. So very excited about that for Lane Riggs. I think Chase Elliott or Kyle Larson will win a second Cup Series championship for Hendrick Motorsports. Yeah, maybe. I mean, I think everyone's like, this could be Kyle Larson's year. Last year was shaping up to be, and then, the playoff format. So, or even missing one of the races, but we won't get into that today, you guys. We won't do it. Some Ryan Preece predictions. Ryan Preece gets a win this year, probably at a short track. Ryan Preece will be the leading driver for you to win a race. You believe RFK will be contenders in the Daytona 500. Yeah.
Oh,
how do we feel about Preece?
I don't want to look at my prediction sheet because I got a counter to that.
Oh, no, you do?
I do.
Where is this? Wait.
Okay, so RFK
yeah.
shifting to 3 cars. It's going to affect all 3 of the teams. They're going to go winless in 2025.
I was going to say something about Spire, saying they're growing faster than they're achieving.
Yeah, that's fair.
And I fear they're going to do what Colleague did and run before they walk.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because Colleague is quickly becoming a back marker in Cup. So I fear that for Spire. I hope I'm wrong, but it's looking like that.
I mean, there's a lot that can be said about, when your team takes a step back, what changes do you need to make? Do you throw everything at it in the kitchen sink and just overhaul everything? Or do you make small incremental changes over time to make your program better? I think we've seen teams overhaul stuff. We've seen teams, change things out in the middle of the season. RCR tried to change things out middle of the season. And then they were like, oh, well, we probably just need to overhaul it. I think that was the right way to go. But you're seeing teams adding in so many new things, adding in new cars, but I don't think they maybe either have the infrastructure or the ability to, when they already have their other rides to focus on, to succeed. So yeah, I do see that. I think Spire, they're bringing in fantastic people, fantastic drivers to their program. My goodness, but there is a fear there. I agree with you, Dom. There's a fear that they might be growing a bit too fast. So keep dropping your predictions in the comments. Of course, like I said, my predictions video will drop tomorrow on the ATYL Media channel. So make sure to check that out. Leave your predictions in the comments, but it's out right now on Patreon if you want to check that out. But yeah, actually, let's talk about this before we go on to preview Bowman Gray. But yeah, do we think a Red Bull car will be in victory lane this year? There's about 5 chances with SVG it could happen. And maybe 1 chance that Connor Zilic just in his debut, kind of like SVG did, gets a walk-off win. We're praying it happens. That'd be awesome.
If that car were to DMP, I will be a very, very, very angry person. If they win, you have got to pre-order, everybody, please, for my sanity.
Yeah.
Well, are they making the Red Bull diecast as it is?
I have no idea.
Lionel,
they're not making the monster cars.
Please.
Yeah.
They're not making the monster cars.
I'm going to manifest it right here.
Manifest it.
Think
Do
of
it.
millions.
Yeah, I hope so, because those would be awesome cars, especially Victory Lane, Race 1 versions.
Yeah.
Well, love that. Everyone's saying amen in the comments, and we all agree. Love that. Let's move on from our predictions, because I know we could talk about that all day long. Let's move on to our preview of the Clash this weekend. Crazy to think that we've already reached that point in the season where we are, I guess not that point in the season, have started the season. Going to start that this weekend with the Clash. So let's go on to looking at the weather for this weekend. Our friends at Race Weather provided us with some great stats for the weather this weekend. How could it affect the drivers, things like that. So looks like on Friday we may have some night showers. Saturday, Sunday, though, mostly sunny, overcast. Think about how the overcast weather could impact the temperatures on the track, how that impacts the drivers. If you're going to be in the crowd, if you guys bought a ticket, this is good for you all to know the weather, what that looks like, so you can plan accordingly. So shout out to our friends at Race Weather for providing us with this graphic and providing us graphics about the race weekend all year long on the ATYL live show. So appreciate them for showing up with that. For the Clash, we went over the format last week, so I won't totally rehash that with you all because I think we're all solid on it at this point. But what are our expectations? It's so hard to say our expectations without actually having seen really like any practice and qualifying yet. But what do we think will happen? Predictions? What are we hoping to see? I'll throw it to Adam first.
I hope I'm wrong about my prediction. Honestly, I probably will be. It's probably going to be a good race. There's probably going to be a lot of side by side because that track is very narrow and it's close quarters. So I think we're going to see a lot of bumping and banging. The last half of that race is probably going to get really wild, and we're going to have cautions. Cautions breed cautions over and over and over. I really do think that track position is going to be the key to winning, and you're going to have to move the leader if you want a shot.
Yes.
Yeah, if you can get to them, for sure, it's going to be the only hope. I think. I mean, we saw this a little bit at Los Angeles Memorial Coliseum last year, where Ty Gibbs could kind of get away for a while.
Yeah.
I think we could see something like that, but again, I just feel like there's more forgiveness at the Coliseum because they made the turns as wide as humanly possible to allow for more bailout space.
Yes. Yeah.
I just think by the time someone gets clear of the lead, someone else will wreck and we'll be under caution again. So I don't know what to expect. The last time I watched any sort of race at Bowman Gray was a K&N Pro race back when Bubba Wallace and Kyle Larson were still racing in that series. So it's been a long time. So I have no idea what it's going to be like. I feel like it's going to be a caution fest, but hopefully I'm wrong.
Yeah, the thing to keep in mind is there are some of our NASCAR drivers that have raced at Rockingham in the K&N series and in various different series that have raced there. I mean, you mentioned like Bubba Wallace, Kyle Larson. I mean, the Hendrick Motorsports and their entire current lineup has raced there. You have Daniel Suarez, Ryan Preece. Justin Haley even. So they already kind of have a leg up per se on, understanding a little bit more about this track, what that looks like. We did get an announcement today, or I guess a release from NASCAR themselves about our practice groups. We will have 3 different practice groups here. The first one, just so you know how it's stacked up, we have William Byron, Kyle Larson, Alex Bowman, Daniel Suarez, Ty Gibbs, Bubba Wallace, Carson Hocevar, Riley Herbst, Noah Gregson, Ty Dillon, Austin Dillon, Ryan Priest, and Tim Brown. I'm trying to find a way to share my screen so I don't have to read this all off to you. But if you also follow me on social media, you will see the practice groups that I posted earlier of, I guess, ordered, figured out, because a lot of these groups will determine who you go up against. Sometimes in the heats, how you qualify against your peers, who's going to be on track first. There's a lot at stake with this. So very interested to see how this all turns out. And all of it really did have to do with, how did you end your season points wise? So Joey Logano is the first driver in practice group 3. It means they will be the last ones on track. That's an advantage at this point, right? There's rubber on the track at this point. You're kind of seeing how all the other cars are handling. So that's good. So he will be in group 3, first guy out there. But yeah, there's a lot that goes into the clash this week. Of course, we'll keep you updated on it all, cover all the action at ATYL Media. Of course, Racing America is going to have great coverage. Toby Christie's going to have excellent coverage. So make sure to follow them there. I will definitely be covering this all heavily on Sunday. So be able to find us all there. But hopefully, fingers crossed, Bowman Gray is a fantastic race, fantastic action. But yeah, everyone, this has been a lovely stream. I'm so glad you were able to spend this Tuesday with us. Again, as a reminder, we're moving our streams to Wednesdays at 7 p.m. from here on out. So next week, we will be going live at 7 p.m. on Wednesday for the remainder of the season. But we appreciate you all for tuning in. We're going to have so much good content coming up on the ATYL Media channel. Racing America, there's a lot of stuff that I've been working on with them that will be up on their profile, so make sure to check them out. And of course, as always, make sure to go to AboveTheYellowLine.com to learn more about us, what we do. And I've gotten a lot of comments on my social media about where we get our diecast stands. Benzik Designs, if you go onto Benzik's Etsy page, use a code ATYL 2025, you'll get 20% off these incredible 4-tiered die-cast stands. There's 3-tiered ones, there's wall-mounted ones. He's working on some incredible stuff. He's also working on a 3D printed racetrack for me that I'm floored about, and I cannot wait to have in my collection. He's done an incredible job with it. But give our partners some love, the way that they support us. We hope you support them as well, along with On Brand. We have the Bright Mentality, Goat Locker Racing. All these people really help us and support us by sharing the content and just supporting us the way you all do. So we thank you so much for your support. We cannot wait to get the 2025 season underway. And we'll see you next Wednesday to talk about the Clash and so much more.